So coming fresh out of World War II, the United States is going to enter in what we're going to call a Cold War with the Soviet Union. Now, it's called a Cold War because the United States and the Soviet Union are never going to directly confront each other, but it's going to be an ideological battle between these two countries, and there's going to be a lot of fighting between the friendly nations that we supported. So this tension is having to do with economic systems, but it's also going to deal with how the world is viewed by these two countries. The United States is a capitalist country, believes in free markets, believes in democratic rule, believes in the idea that individuals have individual choices, making individual market-based decisions, and that's how the economy should be run. Remember that the United States does have its own issues at this point, right? We're still living in a racially segregated country. We haven't hit the civil rights movement yet. So the idea of democracy is still limited in that sense, but it's butting up against this tension with the communist Soviet Union. So the communist Soviet Union is the second superpower that comes out of World War II, and it's led by a guy named Joseph Stalin, and Stalin is a totalitarian dictator. He has all the power, and he's going to be just as bad as Hitler was in the sense that he's going to send about 12 million people to their deaths that were political opponents, non-ethnic Russians. They're going to be sent to gulags, which are kind of like concentration camps. But the communist ideology is the sense that the government owns all of the means of production. They decide in a command economy what's produced, how to produce, how much to produce, who to produce for. And in that command economy, in theory, the idea is that the workers would have a pure democracy, and the working class would be able to set up the rules and run the government. But under Stalin, the Soviet Union was this totalitarian dictatorship where there was basically, he was the ruler and nobody could question him. Because as we can see in Eastern Europe, a similar situation gets set up in the Soviet Union where there's this iron curtain, right? This is a term Churchill used to describe what happened to Eastern Europe, where the Soviet Union dominated all of Eastern Europe, starting in East Germany, but all the way over. The Soviet Union was trying to set up what they called satellite states. They had been invaded in World War I and World War II through Eastern Europe. So they wanted to set up this like wall, this barrier to make sure they weren't invaded again, because there's a lot of distrust that's coming from World War II. Remember, 24 million Soviets are going to, Russians at that point, but it had been Soviets, died during World War II in what they call the Great Patriotic War. And this Iron Curtain over Eastern Europe is going to be based on one-party communist rule. And there's going to be secret police that are going to take out political opponents. And there's propaganda, and there's ethnic cleansing, and all of this other stuff. And that's happening in the Soviet Union as well. So there's a tension between capitalism and communism here. And they're both worried that the other is going to expand. Capitalists are worried that the communists are going to try to move into Western Europe. The communists are worried that the capitalist system is going to expand into their Eastern territories. And it's just not going to be a good situation for anybody. Now, the United States is going to initially try to threaten the Soviet Union with atomic weaponry, and they would try to make threats, and the Soviet Union just kind of didn't care because the United States, after about 5 years, is going to lose its monopoly on atomic weapons. And once the Soviet Union gets atomic weapons, they're going to threaten right back to the United States. So we have a situation where tensions are building, a nuclear arms race is happening, and a war where nobody wants to fight because they're worried it's going to kill everybody. A Cold War is starting to emerge.